darkness really that bad? Okay, it's a little bit of a pain when you can't see anyone, but let's be honest, we could still function with a little bit of dark. That's better. But on a serious note, we're taught in this week's parasha that the Egyptians suffered the plague of darkness. And at first glance, is it really such a bad plague? Not only that, there seems to be a sort of a building of the plagues, building up one on top of another, building up to this crescendo of Makat Bechorot, the final plague, the nail in the coffin as it were, which ultimately leads to the Jewish people being set free from the land of Egypt. And Choshech, the plague of darkness, is the second last one. So seemingly it's pretty high on the list. It seems worse than all of the others. What is so bad about Makat Choshech, about the plague of darkness? So our tradition actually says that this darkness was not just a regular darkness, but it was a darkness that in a sense pinned everyone to their seats based on the words of the Torah that seemed to make it sound like people couldn't move, they couldn't go anywhere because of this darkness. They had to stay where they were, they couldn't leave their homes. Sound familiar? So again, this plague of darkness seemed to sound already beginning to sound a little bit worse than it was originally. Rav Chaim Shmulevitz takes this a step further and points out that the darkness actually was isolation, was this inability for anybody to see, for anybody to interact with anybody else. It was a sense that they were totally isolated. They couldn't go anywhere, they couldn't see anything, they couldn't interact with anyone as a result of that. And that isolation, he says, it almost removes a person from this world. When you end up in your own world, when you are isolated from anyone else, it is almost as though you are not in this world at all, and that is a terrible plague to have to go through. This seems almost exactly what the verse in the Torah is telling us. Chapter 10, verse 23 tells us, Lo ra'u ish et achiv, a person did not see their brother, was not able to see anybody else, V'lo kamu ish mitachtav shloshet yamim, and they weren't able to get up from their seat for 3 whole days. Again, it sounds like an isolation, it sounds like a separation from anybody else. Again, it sounds like a lot of the challenges that we are facing now. Of course, not quite as bad now, but it just really made me sit up and think about what we're going through and what that is doing to us. Another reason why it really made me consider this is, of course, that this week has been Mental Health Awareness Week, Mental Health Awareness Shabbat, and I've spent time thinking about, there have been a number of different fascinating talks. We, of course, had Howard Morgan visit our chat and share this morning, but then there have been a number of fascinating talks across the wider community about mental health and the challenges of mental health, particularly during lockdown. Now, the one thing I want to note is that there is mental illness and there is mental health. And mental illness is something which we need to work to a better understanding of, to remove stigma and to help people who need the help with regards to mental illness. But we also need to recognize that mental health is something that we all have. In the same way that we have our general health, mental health is a part of our general health. When we're suffering physically, that's difficult, and when we're suffering mentally, that's difficult as well. And all of us have ups and downs in our mental health. And there is no doubt in my mind that lockdowns and isolations and generally the challenges that we've been going through over the past 11 months or so have made a huge impact on our mental health as individuals and as a community. And I just wanted to share 3 brief thoughts, or 3 brief ideas really, that I think can help us and can help our mental health at a time like this. Number 1 is, please ask for help. Please don't be embarrassed. We are here as a community. I am here. We have Karen, of course, a fantastic welfare officer who you can turn to as well. You can turn to family, you can turn to friends, you can turn to organizations like Jamie, the Jewish Association of Mental Illness, and others as well. There are really options out there. Please do reach out. To reach out, to ask for help is far from a sign of weakness. It is absolutely a sign of strength, a sign of inner strength of somebody who really wants to move forward, who wants to improve their situation, who recognizes that they have challenges, as everybody does, and in that moment they need to ask for somebody else to give them a hand. Please, please, please do ask for help from anybody who you feel can give you that tiny little bit of assistance in any situation where you feel that you need it. Number 2 is to remember how crucial routine is. It is said of Rabbi Soloveitchik. Rabbi Soloveitchik was one of the great sages of America of the last century, and in his early 60s, Rabbi Soloveitchik went through a year or just a few months where he lost his wife, his mother, and his brother. And it is said that he pointed to the routine of Judaism to be able to get him through that. He said that necessity of getting up for Shachrit, for Mincha, for Mariv, for going through those cycles, for having Shabbat once a week, for having all of those things which he sort of almost were stamps in time, which focused him on just keeping going through the days and through the weeks. He noted that was something that was very, very significant in helping him get through a difficult time. And I think that's something which can be difficult for us in these lockdowns, in these times of isolation, where all the days and the weeks just sort of blend into one. It's difficult to even remember what day of the week it is now. Are we not sure? Is it Monday? Is it Tuesday? Is it Shabbat tomorrow? What exactly is going on? And to be able to have that routine, to be able to sort of find things which give you that sense of routine, which get you going in the morning, one of which is, of course, that we have a Zoom Shachar, which everybody is available to join us for. Everybody is welcome to join us for, men and women, whoever would like, 7:30 each morning. That's just one way to get your day going, but really to focus on the opportunities and to make sure that there is something that keeps us moving and keeps us going. Number 3 is recreational activities. To have something that keeps us going, to something that really we can engage with, something which piques our interest, something which helps us engage with other people. Sometimes we can feel like we don't have the energy for it, we don't want to do it, but just getting out for that walk, just getting onto that Zoom session can really give us a boost, can really make a tremendous difference to us. Again, we're talking about mental health, not mental illness. If somebody has mental illness, then they probably need more and definitely need more than just going out for a walk. But we're talking about just for everyone everyone has mental health, and it requires us to focus on our health. Those are just 3 simple ways that I think that all of us can improve our mental health and take care of our mental health at a time like this. The only thing I'm really trying to get people to appreciate is that it's a challenging time, is that there is help out there, and that it's something that we need to focus on, that we shouldn't underestimate the challenge, that this plague of darkness, this plague of isolation, this difficulty of being on our own, of being separated from anybody else, of being pinned to our place, of being kept in one place, is not an easy challenge. Sometimes we think of it as something simple, but it's not an easy challenge. And it does require us to give it attention and to think about ways to be able to keep ourselves healthy, to be able to keep ourselves positive, and to be able to grow and come out the other side of this stronger, please God, as individuals and as a community. Shabbat Shalom.